Film fans of YouTube, hello and welcome back to the channel. I am Josh, your Movie Apprentice, and welcome to the inaugural Film is Forever Chit Chat show. This is the more long-form content that I'm thinking about doing a little bit more of, talking about current films and older films. And I thought, what a better place to start, because quite frankly, I just want to sit down and chat about this movie. The DCEU is dead, and the DCU is now born with James Guns Superman. And you all know I'm a film guy. Do I know shit about comics? Not really. So I feel like approach from a separate perspective. Let's have a nice chat, which is why I brought my friend Rob from RCKfilms on board, who's done an amazing Superman graphic comic recently, with more to come. Rob, why don't you introduce yourselves and let us know your background with Superman?
Hello, everybody. I have appeared on this channel before, but it has been a while since the last time. What was the last video I did? Was it for Spider-Verse?
It feels like every couple of years.
Yeah.
But I don't think it was Spider-Verse. I know we did a Endgame one.
We did do Endgame.
So it might have been there. It's like every few years I'm just like, hey, Rob, long-term chat.
Especially if it's comic book related.
A long-term video like this. But it always seems to be you that I bring on. So
especially if it's comic book related.
It always has to be. You're my guy for that stuff.
I will say, my background with Superman, it's as simple it is. I've loved Superman probably since I was 3 years old when I first watched the animated series. That was my first introduction to Superman, and then my parents bought me the VHS of the very first Christopher Reeve movie, and ever since then I was hooked on the character. I have loved probably every iteration of Superman, even Zack Snyder's movies, which I know are like very hot topic and controversial, and they're not the best, but I was just happy to see Superman. So Superman is a very important character to me.
Yeah, what you say is like, not counting this film, because I feel like we'll say it for later, but what you say is your favorite version of Superman, be that video game, TV show, film, comic. What would you say is your favorite iteration?
Not counting this one right now, I will say probably before this year, my favorite iteration of Superman. That's tough because even though I love Superman, not every iteration always got it right. I would say maybe the best iteration of Superman. Well, first off, the comics, number one. Number one, the comics. The comics have always is the number one source if you want to get like perfect grade A Superman. Like you mentioned, I'm doing that graphic novel or that motion comic of Superman Birthright. That this is like the biggest origin story to go to if you want to just get right off the bat. Like, tell me about Superman, nothing else, no bullshit, nothing complicated. This is it, Superman Birthright. But for when it comes to visual medium, I would probably say Smallville. I would say Smallville maybe had the best, probably modern interpretation of Clark Kent as a character. Because even though once he became Superman, we couldn't go with him. We saw everything that led to him becoming a hero. It also had the best iteration of Lex Luthor. Michael Rosenbaum was my number one favorite Lex Luthor for a while. The best Lois Lane, the best parents, Jonathan and Martha Kent, and just that whole vibe. It basically nailed it. It was silly at times, went very soap opera at times, and it went off the fucking rails 99% of the time. It's a very crazy show. But I would say that was the one where I'm like, when it got it right, it got it really right. So I would say Smallville.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, we are obviously going to talk about the new Superman movie, but I'm going to do something a little different where we're going to start off with how the ever-loving hell did we get to specifically James Gunn's Superman? Why not any other director? How have the ashes built up to this? Well, we're going to take you on a little journey, Rob. We're going to take you on a little bit of a journey. It's going to be a lot of me talking at you to start off with, but I'll ask you to chime in when I feel like a time comes right. I've got a nice little timeline through a little bit of digging. So you can weirdly, I was going to make a joke, you can almost sort of thank Donald Trump for this, which is a reach. But basically, the long story short is James Gunn runs his own social media. And when old Donald was doing his first presidential campaign run, James Gunn was always going into him on Twitter, which obviously pissed off a certain sect, and that certain sect chose to dig up some old tweets, and on, I believe, let me find this, July 20th, 2018, James Gunn was fired from the MCU and Guardians 3 because some old tweets from between 2008 and 2011 came out. Allegedly, it was driven by a guy named Mike Cernovich, who got everyone to push it so it was top of the charts on Twitter in terms of like reach and exposure. And because of that, Disney and Marvel saw it. And Disney, their quote from Deadline, I will say, James Gunn has been removed as director of Guardians of the Galaxy series after a batch of old social media dispatches were unearthed and touched on areas like pedophilia and rape. In the latest shocking Me Too development in the entertainment industry, Gunn was severed from Marvel Comic Universe after a slew of social media posts he wrote before getting the Guardians of the Galaxy surfaced. There are some I did grab some quotes from them tweets. They're just like edgy 2008 foot. They're not funny.
They're not funny. No.
It's just like cringy, to be honest. You look back, it's like it's very cringy. But Disney's thing was the offensive attitude and statements discovered on James's Twitter feed are indefensible and inconsistent with our studio's values, and we have severed our business relationship with him, said Alan Horn, who was the chairman at the time. Now, where on the flip side, over in Warner Bros., we had the DCU at the time. Now, I've got here that in 2016, DC Films was established in response to the Batman vs. Superman backlash or the disappointment, and they gave Jeff Johns and John Burke basically hired them to oversee a cohesive direction of the DCU franchise, and they replaced them immediately after the Justice League bombed. So at the time of Gunn being fired, we were in between, and I double-checked here, we were in between that Justice League film and Aquaman. The Justice League came out in 2017, November, and Aquaman came out in December 2018. So James Gunn will be rehired by Marvel. I think it was announced in March of 2019. But before they were able to get on that, Gunn was approached by DC to write the next Suicide Squad movie, reported on the 11th of October 2018. This was reported by IGN. And he was not originally hired to direct that movie. He was just hired to write. I believe Gavin O'Connor was scheduled to direct, but I think he left due to schedule conflicts. This is again reported by IGN. So James Gunn was given the role to direct it in January. Now, just for fun, here are some other directors that apparently were linked to Suicide Squad before James Gunn was given the role. Daniel Espinosa, Jonathan Levine, Ruben Fleischer, who directed Zombieland, and Mel Gibson was apparently lined up as well.
I did not know that.
These were directors that were approached, but obviously never. This is me going back. This is like 2017 reports, even before James Gunn was fired. It's like that was a huge. Yeah, that was basically a huge bot. It made a lot of money. Got a lot of critical backlash, but it made a lot of money. So obviously they wanted to get a sequel on the ground. Honestly, Mel Gibson Suicide Squad would have been bonkers.
This was right after Hacksaw Ridge, right?
James Gunn came out was violent. Yeah, he after Hacksaw Ridge as well. He did Hacksaw Ridge in 2017, I believe, as well.
That would be
funnily
nuts.
enough, so according to the article with the Mel Gibson story, apparently the project was getting delayed because Will Smith's schedule. He was recording Aladdin at the time, which I just find ironic because obviously Will Smith didn't return for that sequel, but it meant the cameras being kicked down the road. And eventually, after the backlash with James Gunn, he got the writing gig. Then they was asked to direct it, and the rest was history. Obviously, Gunn was hired back by Marvel, and we saw Guardians 3, which was incredible. But August 5th, 2021, the Suicide Squad released. So that's how James Gunn really gets into the whole DC connection. Now, on the flip side, when do we feel like the DCEU officially was killed off? Where would you say that happened, Rob?
Where it was killed off? Well, I mean, Aquaman 2, like officially. Once Aquaman 2 came out, it was dead in the water. But I would say the moment everyone knew this was just going nowhere was maybe Black Adam. because when Henry Cavill was brought back, he believed, or he lied, he could have lied, that they had a whole movie set for him coming back, and they didn't plan any of it. And it's just, it just reminded you of what the DCEU was. Ideas that went nowhere. Man of Steel 2 never went anywhere. They were never going to work on a Man of Steel 2. So I personally would say Black Adam. The hierarchy did not change anything.
Yeah. Well, doing my little research, because I was curious, like, at what point, because I knew, like, the series was ending prior to that last Aquaman coming out, but there had to be a point where they said, right, we're cutting the cord here and we just need to finish the productions we got going on.
Really quick before you continue.
Away.
Did you know that Bruce Wayne was supposed to be in Aquaman 2?
I did not know that.
They filmed.
I did not know
that. They filmed
actually.
2 scenes with Ben Affleck as Bruce Wayne. And then when like the Flash was like currently like being rewritten, they changed it to Michael Keaton. And then when Michael Keaton, like that thing didn't happen, then they were going to go back to Ben Affleck. And then they just cut the scene off the movie entirely. That's true. If you look up Bruce Wayne Aquaman 2, you see like Jason Momoa like hanging out with like Ben Affleck. And it's just like, what is going on? What are we doing? If they were probably going to bring Robert Pattinson in it, they probably would have. But yeah. So they had no fucking clue what they were doing with this universe.
That just shows. That shows the throwing the things that weren't sticking. Now, I do want to give the DCU its due, but we'll get to that as soon as I get through this next little bit. Because, Jamie, there is some good stuff in that whole franchise. It's just the way it ties together is what makes it far apart the seams. But April 14th, 2022, Discovery Inc. bought out the parent company of DC and Warner Bros., Warner Media. And it was at that point they decided to overhaul the DCEU by forming Warner Bros. Discovery, and with David Zaslav as the CEO. And it was he that decided, right, we're going to scrap this. It's not working. It's inconsistent. We're going to bring someone in separate that will report to me and a couple of others that will lead the DC movies, like all DC media, in a similar way to Kevin Feige. Now, apparently, he vetted candidates with experience in creating and nurturing blockbuster intellectual property. This is from a Variety article. Apparently, someone called Emma Watts was considered to take that position. But instead, on October 25th, 2022, James Gunn and Peter Safran became the co-chairs and co-CEOs in DC Studios that replaced DC Films. And they're responsible for all DC Universe projects, including films, TV series, and animated content. So obviously we know Gunn's history, the Guardians trilogy, Peacemaker, the Suicide Squad, which was a breath of fresh air. I also love that he didn't outright dismiss the original Suicide Squad. He had Boomerang, Margot Robbie, and Rick Flag all remember each other. So I thought that was a good bit. I keep having slight technical difficulties, so I do apologize to those watching. I am having those on my end. It's one of those days. But so James Gunn's done that. Peter Safran is a producer, and he had produced both the Aquamans, both the Shazams, the Suicide Squad, and Peacemaker. So arguably he'd had his hands in some of the stronger installments on DC. So the idea was that James Gunn would handle the creative side of things, and Safran would handle the producing side of things, the production, how that flows. So that is how that came to be, and they would announce a 10-year plan, with the DCU story being divided into chapters, with this first one being Gods and Monsters. That would run from, apparently this whole first chapter will run from this year to 2027. Apparently Creature Commandos, the animated series, which I've not seen, is technically the start of the mapped out plan. And this is reported by the Hollywood Reporter on November 10th of that year. But yeah, so that's how we get to that section. Obviously, we have to get a film slate lined up. I've got an article here from January 21st, 2023, where Deadline confirmed the film slate for the Gods and Monsters. Superman Legacy apparently they were originally planning a Batman and Robin movie.
They still
Swamp
are.
Thing, The Brave and the Bold.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The Brave and the Bold, which apparently is a Batman story. I had to double check that because I never heard of that. And they apparently planned Supergirl projects, which will center around her, and a villain group called the Authority. Now, obviously, with the DCEU ending, it meant that some hard decisions had to be made. One of which was that when they decided to do Superman, they wanted to do a younger Superman that was in his early years, which unfortunately meant that Henry Cavill was out and Ben Affleck was also out. And with the Matt Reeves Batman, it feels like they're letting him do his own thing, but also apparently the Arkham series is going to tie into the DCU, so it's unclear how that's going to work out. But unfortunately, Henry Cavill would be cut as Superman, as he would put on his Instagram, "My turn to wear the cape has passed." This was December 14th, 2022. And in December 20th, 2023, the DCEU officially ends with Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. And Rob, for all the highs and lows of the DCEU, I want to play a little game with you. So I've got a list of all 16, but it's technically 15 because we have two versions of the same film.
Holy shit, that's
I'm going to go through each one, and yeah, there was a fair few in there.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go through each one here. I'm going to say thumbs up or thumbs down to good or bad. Not this middle of the road. Like, if you had to say good to a head, thumbs up, thumbs down.
Okay.
Let's see how many will say is good or bad here.
Okay.
So, first up, Man of Steel. I would give it an up.
Yeah, I would give it an
up. Was I a
up.
bit bored watching it? Yeah, but I don't think there's anything overly offensive about it.
Yeah, I would give it a thumbs up.
Yeah.
I would rate it like a 7 out of 10.
Yeah. Then it followed with Batman, Superman, Dawn of Justice. That's a down. That just became known for the meme.
Yeah, no.
Unfortunately.
No.
Despite Affleck's amazing performance. What about yourself?
The Ultimate Edition is fine, but genuinely, it's the worst interpretations of both these great characters. So thumbs down for me.
100%. Number 3, Suicide Squad. Now, funnily enough, I actually was one of those people that liked the movie when I first saw it because I'd seen Assault on Arkham. I'd bought the New 52 comics, like I was actually reading them. So I was like, oh, they got Harley Quinn right. They got Waller right. They got El Diablo right. Then I thought about it, rewatched it, and it is a hard no. It is a mess that tried way too hard to be Guardians.
I hate that movie.
Way too hard.
I hate that movie. I don't like Batman vs Superman, but Suicide Squad 2016 is much worse. I do know it got butchered. I'm very well aware of that. But from what I've heard from the original era cut, which I think should be released still, doesn't sound like it's going to be much better. So this movie was doomed from the start. But yeah, it's one of the worst films I've ever seen. It's awful.
Unfortunate. But then Wonder Woman. That's an up for me.
Yeah, thumbs up.
100% thumbs up.
A lot of fun. Don't have much opinions on it, but
if it's
yeah, it's just a lot of fun.
Yeah,
I think the animated Wonder Woman movie is better, but
yeah, in terms of the DCU ones, though, I thought that was like probably the strongest one at that point, and it continued on that trajectory, would have been fine. But then 5 months later, November 2017, Justice League, the Joss Whedon version.
Josh's week.
I have to give it. Yeah, I have to give it a thumbs down. I did remember enjoying it when I first watched it, but it's one that I don't remember much of.
It's
like,
a very
dull
movie. It's a wet fart. It's a wet fart of a movie. I will say one nice thing about it though, and this is probably one of the hottest opinions I'll have, and I'll keep it fast. I think this is the best Henry Cavill has ever been as Superman. I'm going to say it. I'm going to say it.
Fake mustache and all.
Okay. The fake mustache is horrible. Don't get me wrong. But the way he played that role, the material he was able to, he was given, is all garbage. But he kind of made it work, and his attitude was very different than what I saw in the last two movies. I saw him and I went, I actually feel like I'm watching Superman. It's in a bad movie, and his mouth is fucked up, but at least I'm watching Henry Cavill actually play Superman. So I appreciate it for that. It sucks as a movie still.
Yeah, I just vaguely remember like there were jokes about Superman was just so serious and miserable all the time, and we were just like, "Oh my god, he's laughing, he's smiling. Oh my god!" Like,
It's actually like he's
that's one
actually
thing I
saving
remember big
people.
there.
He's jokey. It's great. It just didn't match. And where did the fuck did this version come from? Like what the fuck? So just very backwards writing.
Yeah. Well, I'm curious to see what you're going to have for this next one. So after that, it was a big break. This is when James Gunn was fired from Marvel. Aquaman came out in December 2018. For me, I give it a thumbs up. I really enjoyed Aquaman personally.
I saw it once, but I remember really enjoying it. I need to watch it again. I had a great time with it.
Yeah. Yeah, Momoa was very good as Aquaman, but I'm interested to see what his take is with. Is it Lobo? He's taken over.
Lobo. It's so much better.
Is that cool?
It's
I got
so
it right.
Good. Yeah, you got it right.
You're good. And then next was this is my favorite of the DC movies, and that is Shazam. That came next. For me, that was my favorite. I love the themes in it. Thought Zachary Levi was great. The found family theme. The bit where he finds his mum and his mum just outright says, "Yeah, I abandoned you." Oh,
I'll say
gets
this.
me every time.
I'll say this.
Every single time.
As a movie, yeah, big thumbs up. But the other reason I'll give it a thumbs down is I didn't like Zachary Levi as Shazam. Whenever it switched from him to the kid, I just didn't see it as the same person. And I just find Zachary Levi kind of annoying. But other than that, I could totally escape everything else. That is a very fun movie.
Lovely stuff. So after that, we then go into the very confusing Birds of Prey. Now, I still give this one a thumbs up, though it is messy.
I enjoyed it.
It's fun messy.
I enjoyed it.
But it is messy.
I very much enjoyed it.
How many name changes did that film go through?
Oh, a lot.
Yeah. It's so much fun. I just wish we got more of some of them characters. Like,
yeah.
What was it like? What was it originally called? Like Harley Quinn and the Birds of Prey and the Fantabulous Emancipation of
one Mrs. Harley Quinn. Yeah, it was something like that.
Yeah, it was a chaotic movie, but I remember enjoying Ewan McGregor's Black Mask in that movie.
Yes, that was good.
I loved the dynamics in it. I just wish there was more Birds of Prey in it, to be honest.
Yeah.
But then, and after that, we got Wonder Woman 1984, which unfortunately for me, that's a down. It just didn't have the same heart as the first one, I thought.
It was slop. Garbage.
Maxwell Lord's great, but
yeah,
it just got slucky.
Pedro Pascal's good in anything.
But Pedro Pascal, before we go over his skills, life is good, could be better.
Could be better.
That's all I remember from that.
Yeah, same. He's great. He's great in it.
And then Zack Snyder's Justice League came out. Much superior movie. Long movie, don't get me wrong, but God, it doesn't feel as long.
I would say Zack Snyder's Justice League is the best out of the Snyder movies. I wouldn't say it's the best out of the DCEU. Maybe Shazam 1 or Aquaman. Or no, maybe Wonder Woman. But out of Zack Snyder's DC movies, I would say it's number 1, number 2 being Watchmen. Definitely. So it's long, but it's really, really good. I really love it.
Yeah, then after that, The Suicide Squad. James Gunn, I've already said, it's thumbs up for me.
Loved it.
Loved that movie. Loved the comedy.
Had such
loved
a good
how
time.
it was just a comic book.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like it was
yeah.
It's like a comic book. It was laid out like a comic book. It's a bonkers movie.
That's interesting you say that, and I want to come back
to
to that comment when we talk about James Gunn's Superman. But you're right. It is a very, very amazing film. Very good. Very funny.
Then we get to 2022, October. Black Adam. If I had to choose, for me, it's a mid movie, but if I had to choose between one or the other, it's thumbs down purely because good old Dwayne, who's been losing a lot of fanfare in both movies and wrestling recently.
Yeah.
Didn't want Shazam. He insisted on having Superman coming at the end, which meant we had all that hope. that would get immediately crushed. Like, there was no plans. It was just, yeah, I'm too big for Shazam. Let's get Superman in here.
And yeah, not like that situation was so bad. I even felt bad for Zachary Levi because I just, yeah, that whole shit was a mess. What a terrible film.
Yeah, but I'll say there are some elements in it though that weirdly
action's
show
fun.
from the new one
The
that we'll
action's
get to
fun.
obviously when we get into talking about Superman.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then after Black Adam, Shazam Fury of the Gods. Unfortunately, that is by far the weaker Shazam for me. It doesn't have the same heart as the first one.
I didn't see it.
That's my thoughts on that
I
one.
just know
Don't
it's
about
bad.
yourself.
I didn't see
You never
it.
saw that?
I never saw it.
Damn.
I couldn't
A
even be
superhero film
bothered.
that I've seen that you haven't. Wow.
Yeah, I couldn't be bothered.
Yeah. But we're at the tail end now. Yeah, they've crammed out 4 films in this last year because 3 months after that, we got The Flash after years of development hell. I give it a thumbs up because whilst there was definitely a lot of problems with it, I love the emotional stakes of it. I love how it does act as a sort of soft reboot. Like the direct connect Flash to this new universe because he changes one thing by changing the camera, and so you got George Clooney back and all that lad. I disagree with James Gunn saying it's one of the best superhero movies of all time. It's not even in the top 10. But I thought on the emotional level, it hit better than a lot of the DCU movies did. So personally, I gave it a thumbs up, but there is a lot of problems with it.
I despise that movie, and I've talked about it to death multiple times. It's a 0 out of 10 for me.
Gun to your head, if you have to choose between The Flash and Iron Man 3.
Oh, The Flash. Not even. It's not even. I love Michael Keaton as Batman. Don't get me wrong. He was the only reason I went to go see it. But even he wasn't enough of a draw for me to even watch it again. Like, I saw the scenes and I went, those scenes are cool. I saw them in the trailer already. There is nothing to add here except for an AI dead Christopher Reeve. So, very good. Very nice.
Oh, God. And Nicolas Cage fighting a massive...
Yeah, how do you waste Nicolas Cage? I don't get it. Anyway, yeah, terrible movie. Terrible movie.
But, yeah. We'll quickly go through these last 2 so we can get on to the more important things. Blue Beetle. I enjoyed it. It's a fine movie.
Yeah, fine.
But I don't dislike it, so it gets a thumbs up based on that purely up and down.
Yeah, I don't have much of an opinion on it.
Aquaman The Lost Kingdom.
Didn't see it.
Again, I give that one a thumbs up.
I didn't see it.
Of course you didn't see it. I thought it's not as good as the first Aquaman, but I liked some of the stuff they did in it.
I'll check
But
it
when
out.
you line them all up, all these movies,
Yeah.
how many of them did I give a thumbs up to versus a thumbs down? Maybe
Yeah.
I'm just easily pleased, which wouldn't surprise me. But then I look at my overall letterbox ratings. I'm just like, no, I do a lot of middle of the ground ratings for films. But I don't think that my Final Fantasy DCU is that wasn't a bad set of films. It was just horribly cobbled together, clueless, directionless, had no idea what the hell it was doing, so it needed this reset, and they had to get this reset right. That is my overall thoughts on it. How about yourself?
All right, so the Snyderverse, DCEU, I'm kind of just mixing them all. It's the same universe. I don't care about the Snyder fans. Come at me. I really don't give a shit what you have to say. Your universe is dead. But what I will say is, I think they had a lot of good ideas. I think there was effort put into, especially in Man of Steel. Like, if you watch the behind the scenes of Man of Steel, they really did put a lot of care into it. It's just, yeah, you nailed it. Nothing really worked out the way they wanted. A lot of shit getting in the way. A lot of bad people also were involved in these two. Like, bringing on Jared Leto maybe wasn't a great idea. Gal Gadot, all those things didn't age well. But I do admire it being the first legitimate attempt at a cinematic DC universe that tried to make it realistic, more or less. So I appreciate it for being the first live action Justice League I ever seen. But yeah, that's it.
Yeah. Well, now we leave that in the past. We move forward. So Superman Legacy was to be the first of this new universe. Now, just some fun little tidbits leading up to the production. On February 2nd, 2023, comicbook.com, as well as The Wrap and CBR.com, these are some, because you've seen the film a few times now, right?
Yes,
the
I have.
New Superman.
Yes, I have.
He lists a few inspirations for this new Superman. Again, he was originally going to just write this. He was just the writer, but apparently they wanted him to direct originally anyway, and he was confirmed to direct it on March 10th. But some inspirations he had while writing this. He quotes All-Star Superman by Grant Morrison and artist Frank Quitely's 12-part series All-Star Superman was the main inspiration for this, according to an interview he gave to comicbook.com. He also quotes the Superman Legacy comics from Mark Waid, Lenil Francis Yu, and Jerry Aguilan's Superman Birthright as inspirations. All-Star Superman, Jeff Johns and Gary Frank's Superman Brainiac was also cited as an inspiration, as well as Superman Ending Battle from 2002. There's some various sources, but these are some of the Superman comics he throws out as direct inspirations, and they obviously has quoted the animated series and even the shorts from the 40s as well as being some inspirations. Were there any that you kind of spotted?
Oh yeah,
when watching this film? So you've done it a few times now.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. The All-Star Superman stuff. I noticed that a lot. Little bit of the Birthright. Yeah, but definitely the animated. It's very animated series. Before I talk about what I thought about it, that was immediately the first vibe I got out of like the first fight scene. I was like, this is not just like the animated series. This is like the old DC animated movies they used to shoot out. Like this really is it. So yeah, I definitely noticed that. James Gunn has done his homework.
Yeah, Oh, he does. That's the thing with James Gunn movies, I find, is like he makes his comic book films look like comic book films. Yep. Obviously, with this all lined up, production would begin in April 2023 with costumes and casting and production design. Both the production designer and the costume designer. I'm going to pronounce these brutally, but the production designer was Becky Mickle, and the costumes was Juliana Markovsky. They returned from the Guardians movie, Guardians 3, and the Suicide Squad. So it's an existing relationship behind the scenes, familiar work partners. You bring them on. Mm-hmm. He completed the script at the end of 2023. I think it was April 28th. He basically got the script in right before the writer's strike. Mm-hmm. Like he finished the script, and then the writer's strike happened the next month. Now, before we get into talk about the movie, we need to think about the casting. And James Gunn, in an interview, April 28, 2023, with Variety, says that the next Superman has to be someone who has all the humanity that Superman has, but he's also an alien. It's got to be someone who has the kindness and the compassion that Superman has, and be someone who you want to give a hug. Now, before we get into overall casting, would you say that he got what he was asking for in that quote?
Out of David?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I genuinely right now I mean I will, before I get too much into it, I will say I do not see how you could have pulled this off with at least Henry Cavill's version of Superman. So I definitely see that this was the right call, and this David Cornsweet is a blessing to have. Yeah, absolutely. Nailed it.
Wow. Figure David Cornsweet, we're going to be getting into some stuff, but a fun little quote, I just find the same article that I thought I'd quote was from Palm Clemente, who played Manson in the Guardians films. They asked her if she would be involved, and she said, "We had conversations and we're making plans already, but nothing is confirmed yet. But she has an eye on one character, can't reveal who it is, just that she always thought the character was fucking cool." But she is in this movie, in the voice role. She's one of the robots.
Is she really?
Yeah. Before I get to the main cast, I will just quickly go, because I went through the cast list to double check. I only managed to find 3 named actors for the robots. But yeah, Palm Clemente was one of them. That was number 5, apparently.
Okay.
Grace Chan was robot number 12. And I was wondering where he was in this movie, because I'm like, he's always in James Gunn movies. Where is he? Michael Rooker voiced the number 1 robot. So if you watch it again, listen out for them voices, because they were all one of the Superman robots in the Tower of Solitude, is it called?
Fortress of Solitude.
Again, I'm not the hardcore comic book guy. Fortress of Solitude.
Mm-hmm.
All right, don't kill me, guys, please. I mean, kill me, just do it gently. But yeah, so obviously we got David Cornsweet, who would be cast. May 2023 was when they went through their tapes. Now, some of the names that were apparently up for Superman, Nicholas Hoult originally went for it. Jacob Elordi apparently was considered, but he has said he never read for the role, so that's one of those. Could have been considered, could have not been. Andrew Richardson apparently considered. Wait, no. I am misreading my notes there. I'm going to have to cut that bit. Who else do we have? Because there are a couple of other names on here. Note yourself, guys. Keep better notes because these are awful. Where were those screen tests? Here we go. So yeah. So the ones that made to a screen test. So just quickly go into Lois potential castings as well, because it's like ties into what's going off. Some of the considerations for Lois were Emma McKay from Sex Education, Phoebe Devner and Samara Weaving were apparently all considered for Lois. When they got to screen testing and pairing off the actors, they did like 2 rounds basically. So they had one where it was just Clark Kent and Lois Lane just talking for that interview. I'm assuming it's the scene where they're doing the interview with each other. I feel like that's the pairing they did with this. So they paired off Nicholas Hoult and Rachel Brosnahan, who obviously went to get it, Tom Brittany and Phoebe Devner, and David Cornsweet and Emma McKay. They were the 3 pairings for that. And then the next day, all 3 Superman actors read in costume for a scene, but they only did it with Emma McKay. So it's curious that Emma didn't get it and it went to Rachel Brosnahan in the end. But those are some of the actors that were considered for these 2 roles. Now, obviously, as I mentioned, good old Nicholas Hoult apparently went for Superman. I found a funny quote from him when talking about this. Let me just go through all my notes and find this again. Yeah, so Nicholas Hoult when auditioning for Superman. This is something I found in a Entertainment Weekly article that was posted on May 15th, so a couple of months ago. I was like, maybe you could go and do a good job with the Lex stuff, because he was considering Lex Luthor, and apparently he was in line. He was in James Gunn's thoughts for that. But then he said, I'd bury that thought immediately, because I was like, hang on, you got to focus on Superman scenes. Let that be. Don't get sidetracked here, Nick. He's talking to himself. But he says, in regards to the casting of David Cornsweet, apparently, and this is just something that he said in this interview, it was a hot day, and everyone was apparently trying to avoid the sunlight. He saw David Cornsweet. He put his chair in the sunlight, and he was just sitting in the sunlight, just like Superman does to charge up to get his powers back. And he said, I looked at him, and I was like, wow, that's Superman. And of course, David Cornsweet would eventually get the nod as Superman with Rachel Brosnahan getting the role of Lois Lane. And of course, Nicholas Hoult would come back and read for Lex Luthor in a role he ultimately got. Now, before I get into the rest of the casting, what do you think of these 3 performers in this role?
Okay. Well, starting off, since I kind of mentioned them earlier, but right out of the gate, I think all 3 of them basically nailed it. David Cornsweet, if I say his name right, I will say is this generation's definitive Superman. Just from not even just like his heroic scenes, but just the act of kindness, like his energy when he's kind, his energy when he's talking to Lex, talking to Lois. It's all beat for beat Superman. When I see him on screen, I get the same giddy feeling I got when I watched Christopher Reeve. I had the same giddy feeling I had when I would watch Tom Welling. The same giddy feeling I kind of had, or I thought I had, when I watched Henry Cavill. But more importantly, it's what I felt when I would read Superman comic books. And the same with Rachel Brosnahan. Rachel Brosnahan is fucking perfect as Lois Lane. I wish she was in it more, and we'll get to that later. But from what we saw of her, definitely love it. I love her snarty. Like they got her spunk right. She's got the spunk of Lois Lane perfectly right. And Nicholas Hoult, I could not see him as Superman, I will be honest. Especially after seeing him as Lex. I need to see more of him as Lex. Because what I will say is I think he is the best live-action Lex Luthor. 100%. 100%. Love Michael Rosenbaum. And we've had more years with Michael Rosenbaum. So that's why I say Nicholas Hoult, he needs more movies. But the holy fuck. that is 100% the perfect Lex Luthor. So, yeah.
Well, so I'll agree wholeheartedly with Nicholas Hoult.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he was out of the three, he was the name I recognized the most. Obviously, he was in Renfield, he was just in Nosferatu.
Yeah.
Like, he's been in a few things. But
he's mostly a horror
as
actor.
Lex in this, he's got like this he's got this intensity to him in this one.
Yeah.
Like, he's like this. Like, I saw someone, I can't remember what I saw of. It was like a comment on the news articles about Nicholas Hoult. And they were like, he is like his character in The Menu if he got really rich and made a business.
Holy shit. That is perfect.
He's the guy who hangs himself in The Menu.
Oh my God, that's perfect.
Like, I thought he just had this intensity about him. His character nurse. He doesn't hide from his insecurity. It's one of my favorite lines when Superman's chastised. It was like, yeah, I am fucking insecure. And what? That is a crippling, my own kryptonite, and I'm just gonna ride with it. Like, he is so good in it, but we'll get further into it because I'm trying to speed through things. One thing I'll note about Rachel Brosnahan as well, like her chemistry as well, with Consuet is
perfect,
phenomenal. Like that scene in the interview, that was it. Apparently, this was a speculation in an article I read, but because they were looking for actors in their mid to late 20s, and she, I believe, is 31 or 32, they would consider that she might not get it because of her age. Which does happen in Hollywood. Some people simply don't get the jobs in time because they are not the right age for the part. But I'm glad James Gunn went with his gut on this one and got her involved, because those two were a great Superman and Lois pairing. Like, all three of them I thought were great. Like, generally, I thought they were all really good. But then we quickly go into the rest of the casting. So obviously these guys were cast quite early on. They were the first ones. But in July 11th, 2023, Vanity Fair would announce the castings for Mr. Terrific, Hawkgirl, and Green Lantern, aka the Guy Gardner version. Now, I couldn't find much about who else was up for these roles besides them, because the problem with new films is NDAs are still about stories on the set haven't come out yet. So it's all just like pre-production that you can find out about. Anything else, you can't really find much about. But apparently, Eddie Gaffegi, who plays Mr. Terrific, who is by far my favorite part of this film, I'm going to say up front, he beat out over 200 actors for this role of Mr. Terrific. And apparently he didn't want to audition for it originally because what had happened, he was in X-Men First Class as Darwin. And Darwin in that movie gets killed halfway through the movie. And he wasn't a big fan of that. He figured like it was another one of those, like, I'm literally the only major black character in this movie I killed halfway through, kind of over that. But apparently they promised him the grass would be green, and apparently in the comics this character has come back to life before after being killed off, so they thought maybe that would happen. Fortunately, by the time Dark Phoenix came out, he thought it wasn't going to happen. And apparently his agent had to contact him saying, James Gunn's asking, why have you not auditioned for this role yet? Because he was struggling to find the guy he thought would fit. So he sent in an audition tape right before flying out to another set. This is all through various reports I managed to find. And yeah, James Gunn calling the praise the tape, and the rest is history. We had our Mr. Terrific. Now, obviously, I know people give James Gunn shit for bringing familiar faces into his films. I think he's like one of the, like, yeah, there are recognized people in it, but he's not like an Adam Sandler where he just gives all his mates the big roles. Like, for the most part, they're all small roles. However, one person that slipped through that net in this one was Nathan Fillion, who was just TDK in the Suicide Squad, but he plays Guy Gardner. And again, don't know if anyone else is up for this role, but I loved this absolute arsehole. Now, obviously, Hal Jordan is the most well-known Green Lantern. Guy Gardner, Rob, you're the comics guy. Tell me about Guy Gardner. Is he as much of a dick in the comics or other media as he's in this, or is this purely an original side of him?
Honestly, I felt like he was pretty neutered in this, because I have seen instances where Guy Gardner is the most insufferable piece of shit you have ever read. They have tried to like kind of rebrand Guy Gardner to not be as annoying, and I think with Nathan Fillion, I think it's a perfect medium. Like, it's not really that he's annoying. He's stupid. He's very, very stupid. And he is an ass. He's got an ego. But deep down, he is a good guy. He's just a really stupid idiot. And genuinely, what I thought of is, remember in Guardians 3, Nathan Fillion's character there, he just kept saying, like, I have a best friend and he's great. This other guy, he's really stupid. Really, you have a stupid friend? I know. It's a bad... That's Guy Gardner. Guy Gardner is that stupid friend, and Nathan Fillion got to play as him, and I think Nathan Fillion is the perfect guy to play a stupid idiot. And I love Nathan Fillion, so this is perfect casting.
Yeah, love doing that. And then, of course, finally announced as Hawkgirl would be... I did not make a note of her name because I am apparently an idiot. Oh wait, I've got the cast list here. I literally wrote it all down. Yeah, Isabella Merced, aka Dora the Explorer, but she is also in The Last of Us as Ellie's love interest, I believe. And she is also in Alien Romulus. She is the pregnant one that, quite frankly, deserves to survive in Alien Romulus, because she goes through the absolute ringer in that movie and dies horribly at the end. She plays Hawkgirl, and out of the three, I feel like Hawkgirl is the least interesting, because I don't feel like she's given enough to do in this. Like, Garner's there being the only arsehole. Miss Terrific has his own side quest. She kind of spends the whole movie sassing out Guy Gardner or doing bird screams.
Well,
and straight up murdering a leader of a country that I'll get into.
I was going to say, we'll get to that. We will get to that. we'll get to that. Really quick, I will say I did like her as Hawkgirl. I liked that one scene in particular. We'll get to that. She was barely in this, though. Definitely barely in this. I didn't mind the bird screams, though. I thought that was kind of dope.
It was dope. It just kind of felt like she was only doing one or two things. And after, because I saw an interview that went round of, I think James did like a post saying, like, can't wait to bring Hawkgirl to the world and do justice to the character. And I was like, she didn't really get to do much. Like, but one thing I like about this film is that they introduce these characters, and you know they're going to go off and do their own thing. I think there was a Lanterns TV show planned, and
she's going to be in Peacemaker season 2.
Be in that.
So she'll be included in that, definitely.
Oh, she better have a great scene with Eagly.
Oh,
like
please.
Eagly just
please,
for some reason gets along with her better.
That'll be great.
I'm looking forward to that aspect. But those three, I quite like them. I like the dynamic with Superman. I thought that was all very good. But quickly flying through some of the rest of the casting, because whilst principal photography, so the original shoot, would begin, I believe, where is my dates here? Because they cast a bunch of people during filming. Like, they cast all these like main players, so your main three, these guys, they were cast nice and early. However, the rest was sort of cast as we went forward. So there we go. So filming began in January 2024. Yeah, it feels like half my notes just really disappeared on me, which is rather annoying because I had it all lined up perfectly. But I'll go through the rest of the cast here. So we have, well, first of all, we have the two Kents, Ma and Pa Kent, Neva Howell as Ma Kent, and Pruitt Taylor Vince as Pa Kent. Pa Kent was apparently in Constantine, Bird Box, and Stranger Things as well at some point. Neva Howell, all I could find was The Ghost of the Ozarks, something that really jumped out at me. What do you think of the Kents in this?
I
quite liked them.
I liked it.
but I heard they're divisive.
I liked it. I liked it a lot. They had a real I think it's Jeff Loeb. Is it Jeff Loeb and Tim Sale? They did a story, Superman for All Seasons, and the Kents in that story are very much like this. They are so Southern. They are so from Kansas. There is no escaping that. Most versions, like, they either lean too far into like the hillbilly aspect, or they lean too much and like, you're not from the Kansas at all. You look like you're from Illinois. Like the ones in Smallville, even though I love the ones in Smallville. But in Man of Steel, like, I didn't really get a Kansas vibe from either of them. But here, yeah, full on, they are Kansas blood, and they're just so incredibly wholesome. They were so, I loved Ma Kent's calling everything mush, like whatever Jonathan Kent does, like, oh, you old mush. I loved how like wholesome Jonathan Kent is. I loved it a lot.
Yeah, I quite liked it because it just felt real.
They felt
it wasn't
real,
like, oh,
yeah.
here is a very attractive farm couple. It's just like, no, these adopted them. I just wish we had a bit more of them. There's an emotional scene between Pa Kent and Clark Kent that I feel like would have hit harder had we had another scene with them, because we literally had a scene of them calling him, saying, oh, come visit us soon, son. And then a lot happens. Then we get to the farm, have this emotional scene.
And that's it.
But I did like the ending scene. But before we get to all that, just going through some of the rest of the cast list. So we have Metamorpho cast in this one as well. There is Anthony Carrigan, who was recently in Death of Unicorn, but you might have recognized him, Rob. He's been another DC property in the past.
He's
Good old Victor Zsasz in the Gotham show.
baby boy Zsasz. It's my baby. I love Zsasz. I love him as Zsasz, and I love this guy, and I love him as Metamorpho. He was fucking great. I don't think there's this actor. What'd you say his name was?
His name is Anthony Carrigan.
I don't think there's been.
If I've pronounced it correctly, I could have pronounced it wrong.
I don't think there's anything I've seen him in where he was bad. He's been good in basically everything. So him as Metamorpho is fucking perfect. I do miss him as Zsasz though, because his Zsasz was fucking great.
Yeah, I think I found an interview. This is before Superman had been announced. But he was like, I've left Zsasz behind me, but I'd love to get involved in the new DC when that comes around. So I like they got a little role. He's like, come on to bigger and better things. But to quickly fly through the rest of the cast. So the rest of the Daily Planet crew, we have Wendell Pierce as Perry White, who's from The Wire, and he was in Thunderbolts as well. He was the what was it called now? He was a congressman, I believe.
Yeah.
He was the one that talks to Bucky a fair few times.
Yeah, he was.
So he's in both sides of the fence this year.
He's good.
And then we have Skylar Gisondo as Jimmy Olsen, famous from Booksmart and the Santa Clarita Diet. I was like, is that kid from the Santa Clarita Diet? And I thought it was a lot of fun in this movie.
There's one more
opposite
thing he
Sarah
was
Sampaio, who plays...
There's one more thing that he was in. He was Gwen Stacy's sister in the two Andrew Garfield
Licorice Pizza?
Spider-Man movies.
Sister, you mean brother?
I'm sorry,
Sister.
brother. I'm sorry. He was Gwen Stacy's younger brother in the Andrew... Or, you know, you could be whatever you want. It's fine. But yeah, he was in those movies as well.
Oh, I love his stuff. And yeah, he would be he was cast at the same time as Sarah Sampaio as Eve Techmacher, is it? This is basically Lexi's Techmacher. She's great in this.
She's great.
I love
She's
the
so
character
funny.
in this. I thought, first time you see her on screen, I thought she was just going to be a one and done joke. Like, oh my God, it's chaos and people just take selfies and stuff. A commentary on our reality today. I thought, oh yeah, that's where it's going to go. But no, she keeps coming back, and then you find out the selfie thing was actually her covering herself in case something bad happened to her.
That is so genius.
Yeah, and rounding off the main, well, we have Maria Gabriela de Feria as the engineer, who's one of the sub-antagonists in this. And finally, in a small part, but good to go forward, Millie Alcock as Supergirl, who we know from House of the Dragon as the younger Rhaenyra. She's great in House of the Dragon, but we'll get to that later. But as I've said, can't find much about the production side of things, because obviously NDAs are still about. but we did have Henry Branham return as cinematographer from a previous Scum work, and John Murphy returns as composer after composing Suicide Squad and the Peacemaker show and Guardians 3. I think John Murphy, for me, is one of the most underrated composers out there because he's literally scored two of the most iconic bits of music that you hear repeated over and over again. I'm, of course, talking about Adagio in D minor from Sunshine. And there's that song from the 28 Days franchise, that intense guitar, that 7-minute song. I've heard that a number of times as well. So I feel like he's a very underrated director there. And one more final bit is we meet Crypto for the first time. I just want to share a little story with you about Crypto. So apparently Crypto's characterization in this was based off a dog that James Gunn adopted called Ozu. Basically, Ozu came from a hoarding situation in a backyard with over 60 dogs that never knew human beings. So it was very problematic. Apparently, he immediately came into their house, destroyed the home, shoes, our furniture, and apparently even ate his laptop. And it would take a long time before he even let them touch him, that being James Gunn and his partner. And he says he remembers thinking, gosh, how difficult would it be if Ozu had superpowers? And that's where the characterization of Crypto in this one comes from. A couple of side bits on production. The Fortress of Solitude stuff was shot in Norway. The scheduling of the filming was said to be between March 8th and August 2nd. It concluded on July 30th, so ahead of schedule. There was some pickups done in May, and they did a picture lock in early June of this year, so a few weeks before release, and they got the effects done in there. Oh, here we go. They cast the Kents in April of the year they were shooting. So like 3 months into principal photography, they cast the two Kents there. So my notes are there. They're just out of order. So it's just to learn from the future. But rest is history. On the June 11th, 2025, the film releases, and that's where we're at. Box office wise, it has, from the opening weekend, on a budget of 122 million with allegedly 100 million for marketing, we are looking at $95 million in the US, with 270 million worldwide overall. Oh, sorry. No. Yeah, 122 million, sorry, was in the US. The budget was 225 million. Again, it's do my notes better next time. So 122 million US, 95 million international, with a 270 million worldwide off a production budget of 225 million across just over 4,000 theaters. Now, because people for some reason hold these in gospel, we'll just go through some quick scores. Rotten Tomatoes, it stands at an 83-93, so that's 83 critics, 93 audience, with 355 critic scores and over 10k audience scores. The IMDb score currently stands at 7.7 out of 10. And on Letterboxd, it's on a 4.0. This is as of the 15th of July. So people are digging it, is the long and short. Now, before I get into some little reviews that I found, let's talk about the movie, Rob. I've kept you sat here enough. So, first of all, I love how it just throws it straight in there. The opening text, 300 years, metahumans exist. Done. Metahumans established.
Right.
30 years ago, Kal-El sent to Earth. Done. That backstory out the way. 3 years ago, Superman introduces himself. That countdown, I really enjoy that as a way to just throw us straight into it, personally.
Yeah. That beginning was very, very strong. I loved all of that. I remember they were saying like they were gonna do a Star Wars style opening, and I was really nervous on how that was gonna play out. But this way, I kind of hope they kind of keep this up for most big DC movies. Not all, obviously. But yeah, no. I'm just gonna say it right off the gate, right now, just right out of the gate. I fucking love this movie. I fucking love this movie. I officially, I think, said in it after I saw it a third time last night. It is definitely, I think, probably one of the best DC movies out there, especially with that beginning. just letting you know this is new. There are superheroes that exist. This is a new Superman. This is a brand new adventure for him. You don't need to know more than that. Let's get right out of the gate. And you kind of feel like you've been hanging out with this guy for a while. Like immediately when you are with him in the fortress and you're hanging out with him in the planet, you're like, I remember him. I remember this guy. That's my friend. I remember him. Just how a comic book Superman movie should feel. I fucking love this movie from start to finish. I was conflicted when I first watched it. And we'll get to that. We'll get to why in a bit. But yeah, I personally fucking loved it right from the beginning.
Yeah, like I said, we're not going to go end to end because we'll be here all day with it. But I just want to talk about some highlights of the movie. So, what would you say was your favorite scenes from the movie? What would you say were your personal highlights?
Okay. Any scene with Clark and Lois just talking, I would say, is one of the most fun scenes to watch. Okay, maybe not the most fun. Like the first one when when she's interviewing him, great moment. Such a great Superman movie scene. That's going to be a Superman scene I'm going to be thinking about a lot. The other scene where she gives him that cup of coffee and he's like, I'm going to turn myself in. Maybe being kind is the new punk rock. That moment is so good. I would say my favorite moment of all probably. I would say my favorite shot is just seeing Superman rise above the clouds when he saves that woman from the falling buildings, domino buildings. That was great. All the fight scenes are really fun when he's using the engineer as like a fucking ragdoll. That was a great moment. Every crypto moment was cute. And the ending, which we'll get into later. Yeah, there's maybe a couple scenes I could think of that I didn't really vibe with, but everything else it's really hard to think what's my definitive favorite scene because when he saves a squirrel. When have you ever seen that before? That's such a Superman, such a Superman moment, and people were upset about that for some reason. I'm just like, well, fuck you. He's saving the squirrel, and the squirrel doesn't even know what happened, and it's fine.
Yeah, that's one thing I would say I love about Superman's character today. Is obviously I'm not someone that I was always like when I was a kid. I was like a Spider-Man, X-Men, Batman kind of kid. Superman, I just saw him in Justice League. I didn't know about his whole shtick about he's a symbol for hope, and all he cares about is saving people. And I love the kaiju fight because you have those three: Hawk Girl, Guy Gardner, Hawk Girl, and Mr. Terrific come in. I love that they're all about just doing damage to this creature. Superman spends most of that fight just making sure no one dies. I will say when the kaiju, when he blows up part of the building, and Superman's like, "Hey, you guys okay?" And they're like, "Yeah, we're all fine." I'm just like, I'm pretty sure a couple of you would have died because you were quite close to the window there, but whatever. And it's like they went out of their way to show that this is a Superman that is probably still a little bit naive. He's still quite young, but he's just out saving people. He saves that dog that refuses to move. He saves that squirrel. He doesn't even want to kill this massive world-destroying kaiju. He wants to put it to a zoo. I love that clash of ideologies between the idea of Superman, the beacon of hope, who is being torn down by his legacy that we'll get to momentarily, and how the other superheroes act. And that ties right back into... I'll just go quickly talk about the Hawk Girl bit, because in that interview sequence with Lois and Clark, Superman, she questions him about the intervention he does between these two countries, and he says, "Oh yeah, I spoke with the leader of this country." I said, "How do you speak to him?" "Oh, I pinned him up against the cactus." And she's in full reporter mode. She's chastising the guy. And it's just like, yeah, this is a superhero that's unchecked, like, mess with a political leader. So I can't help but wonder, I mean, I guess because of the leaks, it kind of explains it maybe a little bit, but the fact that Hawker, the straight up murks that exact same person later, and it doesn't come back, I'm just like, hang on, no one's giving a damn about that? I mean, he had it coming, but I feel like...
Well, I mean, let's be real. She dropped him off quite a high spot. What was left? when he landed. He's probably missing for all we know, and they don't even know who that is. So,
yeah, guy's just a pancake. Like that's
on.
one minor bit that did it. I know that's like a big hero moment, but that bit bugged me. I am curious to see your takes. When I'm watching this, I'm thinking like, right, is there anything in here that is I feel like is gonna annoy fans? Like, I do have my flaws with the film. Like, I felt the script at times is a bit hand-holdy with some exposition it gives out. And as much as I love James Gunn movies, I'm getting a bit tired of him having to make music as a big part of a character. Like, it was great with Star-Lord, then he did it with Rocket, and then it was like, oh no, Peacemaker's always been really into music as well. And then Lois and Superman having this intimate scene, and it's like they're arguing about what punk rock is. I'm just like, dude, find a new way to have Superman be really into old movies or something, or really into poetry, something. I'm getting tired of the, here is this obscure artist from the past. Like, that's one Gunnism that bugs me in this. But going back to one thing that I feel like would annoy some fans is the revelation that the other half of the message, they were saying, oh yeah, rule the world, have a million wives. And it's not even doctored. They even cut to Lex and it's like, oh, great job on the video. It's like, yeah, I wanted to find some dirt. I didn't realize that his parents was going to give it to me. Like, I didn't have to do anything. Like, I love that line. But because we assume, right, he doctored it. It had to be. But it's like, no. They reiterate over and over, like, nope, that is real. Like, what did you think of it?
That might have been maybe the only issue I had with the movie. Not exactly the concept itself of, oh, his Kryptonian parents were probably evil. It felt just kind of rushed, especially with Mr. Terrific, who I didn't really say anything about him. I also think Mr. Terrific is fucking incredible in this movie. But I will say I didn't really like the fact that they just kind of brush off the fact that it wasn't doctored, that it was legit. And like, maybe if Mr. Terrific instead of saying like, I know these guys, they wouldn't say it's fake if it was fake. Maybe I would just have him say like, listen, just breathe. Maybe not. We don't know. But these guys are very legit. Maybe they wouldn't. Well, maybe I guess that's what he said. But it just seemed too sudden. There's no change. They're evil. This is the route we're going. And then they just kind of brushed off it. Like they never really addressed it again. But what I will say is this is definitely going to be something we're going to see in future movies. Like they're coming back to this. Part of me still likes to believe that it's either taken out of context or it is doctored somehow. But also maybe not. Maybe not. This could be it. They kind of did the same thing with the Batman, having like the Waynes be kind of fucked up people. So this is basically, I said this to a friend of mine when I came out of this movie. This movie is doing what the Batman did, but for Superman, more or less. So yeah, I don't mind the concept. I just thought it was a little rushed.
Yeah, the execution. It does feel a little rushed because literally, like they had that fight with the big kaiju monster, then that video report comes out, and then everyone immediately turns to Superman. They go into the building and they have to like block it off. And then Mr. Terrific is like, no, I know these guys. And I'm just like, Terrific.
That was rushed.
When did you?
That was rushed.
How do you know exactly who analyzed this? Like, you just had this massive fight with a kaiju.
He is one of the smartest guys in the game, so I could believe him. But either way, yeah. The other real problem I have is like the scene afterwards when they're going to the Daily Planet and you see like a guy on TV and he's like, I used to be a big fan of Superman, but now after this, I hope he rots in hell. And it's like, you just saw this, like out of nowhere. You were the biggest fan. Like I felt like the people were like they went from loving him to then hating him, and then when it turned out to be fake, or like when it was revealed that Lex Luthor was involved in this, then people loved him again. And it's like, are people just stupid in Metropolis? Or is Metropolis just filled with some of the biggest idiots in the world? I think people are just
stupid in general.
Yeah, you have to be in the comic book world.
Into the fact that people... No, I do feel like even in our reality, like people do just switch on a dime on people. Like the moment you hear something bad about it, it's like, oh, I always knew this person was a bit dodgy. Like, happens all the time. It's just the fact that everyone goes against Superman in this one.
Yeah.
But yeah, then he turns himself in, and
Very Man of Steel.
We have the prison sequence. Now, I have a bit of a problem with the sequence because he says from the get-go to Metamorpho that I can just get your son, just turn your kryptonite off. And he's like, no, don't talk to me.
Mm-hmm.
And then someone has to get shot in front of him. The falafel guy that we meet once. I do like that.
That was rough.
That emotional moment that
was rough.
Superman cares about everyone and this would destroy him.
That was
and
heavy.
he's like, oh yeah, I guess I will let you do it. And it's just like, dude, this feels like it's been stretched out to have this random shooting scene, because if you just did that straight away, the moment Lex left, okay, go get my son. Problem solved.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I guess they had to delay it until that Lois and Mr. Terrific could get into the camp, have that fun needle drops fight sequence, which again, yeah, it was very James Gunny, but I thought that's one of the few times it worked in this film. Guess you had to wait for them to be in a position to get him out of there.
Mm-hmm.
But it just felt like him just casually being like, oh, don't talk to me, and that being it was a weird way to elongate that sequence a little bit. That's one of the parts of the film that was a little weak for me. But
what do you think of that whole
just
like chase scene?
Nitpicky.
What about that whole chase scene with like the baby George and Metamorpho following them and them trying to not go in the black hole? Because the first time I saw that, I thought that was way too much going on. I was like, what? It's hard to follow. Then the second few times it was easier, but like I think for the first viewer, that's going to be a lot to unpack. It was funny every single time Metamorpho kept calling Superman weird, while at the same time Metamorpho was doing this fucking craziest thing you've ever seen in your life. So that was funny.
Oh, yeah. When he blows him into the acid, like...
Oh, yeah.
That was he's just like a floating head. That was so wacky.
Oh,
so wacky.
And some of the jokes during that whole
like,
sequence, I also didn't think really hit, because it was a little too James. Like the moment when Lois and Mr. Terrific are in his sphere and they're talking like the T circles, and he's like, circles, they're spheres. Circles are flat. These are spheres. They're oval. And it's like, come on, you're hurry the fuck up. Save Superman. Talk about it later. Like that stuff always annoyed me in movies. It was very, he's right behind me, isn't he? Kind of thing. Again, the moment where he's like, yeah, I see them, Superman, a flying dog, and a cape, and a weird baby, and a squibbly man. I was just like, what? What? That was funny, but it was still like very James Gunn, very movie, kind of took you out of the moment a little bit.
Yeah, I did love Mr. Terrific's like characterization in this. Like, he has the same sort of way he delivers his lines the whole way through, but you could tell like the slow inflection when he was annoyed, when he was amused, like him saying, "Oh, I'm just coming to help you because I want to piss off Guy Gardner." Basically,
he's
like,
annoyed with the fact that
a little bit.
He's like annoyed with the fact that no one else around him is as smart as him. That's what annoys him. And I love that about Mr. Terrific's character. They didn't make him just the annoying smart one that always does everything right. He's annoyed that no one has the same brain as him. And when you see him going, can I fix this? Can I do this? Yes, I can, but fuck you. You should do this too. Love that about him.
Yeah. Like he's just his whole attitude is just like, I am so done with these people. Like, I love this guy's Jason. He did remind me a little bit of a Wesley Snipes Blade, slightly, just with how he delivered his quippy lines. Only slightly, but it's just, that's what it reminded me of a little bit. Just like, these motherfuckers are always trying to skate up here.
I thought it was perfect.
I'll say the one bit. Yeah, but some of the James Gunnisms that bugged me on the script, because where the script was weak for me is that how it explained some things. There was some bits was sort of like, a lot of it was just like, yo, quit playing around and come out. I was like, I'm not playing around, doing important stuff. Like, generally, I would have preferred that bit if Superman was just sort of like, just exaggerated. Like, he's just won a fight against his literal clone. He's exhausted, and this guy's giving a shit. Like,
he's like,
no, just. Yeah, just something like that. That whole putting stuff bit was a little weird. Like I said, I feel like the Ma and Pa Kent stuff could have done with a little bit more fleshing out. But it's sort of in that final film, it's very expositionally, like the reveal of the clone Superman. It's like, oh my god, that's how you got into the Fortress of Solitude. Yes, that's exactly how I got into the Fortress of Solitude. And then this back and forth, I'm just like, I feel like that's some we could have pieced together. I wasn't thinking about how he got in at that point, but by the end I was like, how did he? Oh yeah, clone Superman. He has his DNA. Oh god, it's like feels like
I
they
didn't notice
explained
that till
some
the
stuff a bit
second
too
viewing.
much in that final third.
I didn't really think about that till the second viewing because when he took his mask off, and as someone who's basically seen every Superman movie that is released, it did feel a little too similar to like the previous Superman movies. It's like, is he anybody like special? Is he Bizarro? Which he technically could be still, but he's just a dumb Superman clone, and we have seen that so many times. We've seen that in Superman 3. We saw that in Superman 4, technically. There's been episodes of some of the TV shows, like in Lois and Clark, there was a dumb clone. In Smallville, there's plenty of dumb clones. In Superman and Lois, there was a dumb... No, it wasn't really a clone. But it has been done before, so I was kind of let down with that reveal. However, that fight, I think, is fucking terrific. I think that fight between Superman, Engineer, and Ultraman, and then just flat out Superman versus Ultraman. And then it goes from Superman and Ultraman to Superman and his dog versus Lex Luthor and his dog. That's what that final fight was. And that final moment with the bus, where, because I've always wanted to see a scene in a Superman movie. Don't ask me why. I don't know. I'm fucked up. And they do it, and I'm glad. I wanted to maybe see it in a Death of Superman movie. Like, I thought Henry Cavill could do this, but I've always wanted to see a scene where Superman's arm breaks. Either he breaks his arm purposely or the enemy breaks his arm, and he takes care of the bad guy that did it, and he just resets it back because he's Superman, and that would probably be a new type of feeling for him. How would Superman do that? Because Batman does that shit all the time. Spider-Man does that shit all the time. Superman doing that, I think, would be wild, and they did it. And it hurt. It hurt me. I'm like, oh, God, that noise, but it was perfect. So I loved that Ultraman versus Superman fight a lot.
Yeah, I love the fight. I will say there was the whole... So, putting it out there, there was another invasion, and a big, strong force invading a smaller force to split the country between him and Lex. There's a little reveal that Lex started this conflict to get at Superman versus actually wanting to rule this country. I thought it was like next level petty from Lex.
Mm-hmm.
But I love that that dialogue where he's just like, you were a petty man. I was like, yes, I am petty. It's one of my biggest flaws and I will own it. And then he just like goes like, what's that number he keeps going over? It's like A2, A2, A2.
No, okay.
I can't remember exactly what it was.
The two things that he says that I love from Lex, the two lines that he says, one, I'm trying to remember, is like, whenever I hear anybody mention the names like Galileo or he says all these philosophers, I feel a tiny bit of vomit in the back of my throat because I know I'm better than these fools. And the same rant, he's like, I was given these stuff by the United States to annihilate you. 1A, 1A, 1A. And I love the memes that came out of that. It's like, if you watch My Hero Academia, it's like Deku, like ask Deku, what class is he in? 1A, 1A, 1A. Love that. Fucking love that. That was such a good moment.
I just love how the whole film, Lex is like calm, in control. Like Superman comes in, flips his tail, gets right in his face, just there like sniffing his teeth, like mocking him, like so calm, so clever, so conniving. Shoots the guy in cold blood, and it's like, oh, I thought we were going longer. Like he's so calm, but then by the end of it, he's just completely lost it. Like completely lost it. And then,
I love it when Lex Luthor crashes out.
And then and then, like, the news breaks. They're like, oh, because, like, oh, yeah, we forgot to mention, but basically, Olsen used to see his Lex Luthor's partner, and in these cells she's been taken, she's been actually getting information, like seeing maps, documents, all that shit. Sends it to Jimmy Olsen that they leak it in this wacky off a UFO that she takes from Mr. Terrific. It's a lot, but... Long story short, the news gets word, and Lex gets to see his old empire's been built, like, crumble around him. I didn't know if I liked it when I first saw it, but as I thought about it, I quite liked this man who's like so alpha, so in control of everything. Just that one tear, and then you see him look towards the portal, and Superman doesn't have to say anything. He just stood there with his arm folded, and it's just like, that's the few times where you don't exposize it. That's just, he wants to go into that pocket dimension, but Superman is right there, and he is not getting past him. He is not getting away with this shit.
That
like,
is
I
good.
love that.
That is like, that whole scene is like really good facial acting. It's like, this is a scene where actors need to convey emotions without saying any line of dialogue at all. And you kind of just felt everything that both of these men were feeling. Like, you felt what Superman was feeling. You felt what Lex was feeling at that moment. And that scene would not have worked, I think, if it was anybody else besides these two. Like, you know, since David is a Juilliard actor, trained actor, just like Christopher Reeve was, and Kevin Conroy, and the fact that, you know, Nicholas Hoult is Nicholas Hoult, and he's already fucking terrific. That scene was so fucking. I love that. I love that so much. I always love silent Lex Luthor Superman moments.
Yeah, like Nicholas Hoult, like, I thought Mr. Trigger was my favorite part. I feel like it's the most entertainment part, but Lex Luthor is incredible in this. Nicholas Hoult,
yes, he is.
Love him. Like, after watching him, for some reason, it's made the Jesse Eisenberg performance even more irritating after seeing just like, because he's still a little bit wacky in this, but he's intense. He's like he doesn't look like a big guy. You could beat him in a fight, but he's like just exudes aura and power in this. And I think he's just so good in this movie.
Literally, like
he better come back.
Everything they wanted to do with Jesse Eisenberg that didn't work works in this movie. Like what they were doing with this movie is what they were hoping to accomplish with BVS and Jesse. And I love Jesse Eisenberg, don't get me wrong, but just nothing about that character worked. Nothing about him was even remotely threatening. But here, it was, like I said, I love Michael Rosenbaum's Lex Luthor. And this was basically how I felt when I would watch Michael as Lex Luthor, or I would watch the animated series with Clancy Brown as Lex Luthor. Lex Luthor is a piece of shit. I would never really fully classify him as... Oh, actually, well, maybe not anymore, because, again, when he shoots that guy, that's pretty evil. Because I was going to say I would not necessarily classify Lex Luthor as evil, because I do believe that you could always have a good redemption arc with Lex, and I would love to see them do a redemption arc with this version of Lex. But after killing that poor guy that had no friends and his honor was just helping Superman and giving him a meal, you know, that I did not see that. I will be honest, the first time I saw that, I didn't think that was going to happen that way. Like, the second time when he did, who raised you as a child? I was like, oh, he might die. Boom, he died. There was no third attempt. There was just, right out of the gate, you're not answering my question. Boom. All right, we'll find the next person you like, and we'll kill them too. And you're just like, yeah, this Lex Luthor is... If they do a redemption arc, good fucking luck. But I would love to see one, especially if it's Nicholas Hoult.
What I was saying was, there's that powerful bit in the final battle where these kids are holding up this Superman flag, like this symbol of hope, like this small nation. And I don't know how much of it came up in the previous quote. I just had some audio, some internet issues, but it's got an obvious allegory. Like, it's not hard to see, but once the military comes in, all the kids run off, but this one kid is defiantly still holding on to hope, hoping for someone to come save them. But I don't know how I feel the fact that it isn't Superman that comes to save him at the end, it's the others that come and save them. I get that to a point, because it's sort of about saying you can't just rely on one symbol to save you. Like, everyone has to chip in and do their bit. It's not just one person that does all the work. Like, even the greatest superhero needs help because he's too busy fighting the other version of himself. But what do you think of that?
Metropolis
sequence?
Is splitting.
Yeah, Metropolis is getting that sorted out.
Let's see. I mean, obviously, and I won't get too far into this, the political allegory here is very obvious, and I think how they handled it, personally, I think it's really, really well. But other than that, I was a little bummed that Superman didn't show up because I really loved everything that was happening beforehand. Like you mentioned with the kid holding up the flag, all the adults like get into it, and the music. The music is probably I would say the music might be one of my favorite features in this whole movie. So even if I'm watching a scene where I don't think it works that well, the music is helping me kind of forget about it. And here I think the music is just so perfect. But I didn't mind the action sequence with the Justice Gang showing up.
Yeah.
I didn't mind Guy Gardner saving the kid, flipping off all those soldiers. I thought that was great. Very Guy Gardner. I thought Metamorpho... I will say, how did they get Metamorpho in? Because I know he was watching on TV with I guess, his wife. And I guess he was able to make it to Jaipur in time, wherever he was at. It kind of threw me off a little bit that he was just randomly there. But loved the moment of, like we mentioned, Hawk girl, Hawk woman, whatever they decide to call her, throwing not Benjamin Netanyahu out the window. Thought that was great.
Let me out the window. It's straight like flew with him and just like, you was hurt.
Oh, well,
You're like
true.
Superman.
No, true. Yeah.
It's like, bitch, I'm not
like
Superman.
That was fucking. Oh, okay. Really quick, because it cuts right to like you don't see him land, but you cut to like you see Steve Lumbar putting something in his water and drinking. And I just quickly want to go. The guy who plays Steve Lumbar, which is the guy who was like messing with Clark in the beginning of the Daily Planet. He's got that mustache.
Yeah.
And he's the guy that's like, why don't I have a seat? That guy is so fucking funny. I love hearing him like scream cry. He does those scream cries perfect. Like, you know how some men, even though I'm always an advocate for men's mental health, some men you see cry, you just kind of laugh.
Yeah.
You feel bad, but you just kind of laugh. Steve Lumbar's that guy. Whenever I see him emotional, I was just laughing. So I always think he was a great like kind of comedy relief in this movie. But yeah, the Jaipur scene, taking care of Barkovia, I really liked it. I do wish Superman eventually showed up at the end, but to be fair, his hands were tied. So
yeah, it was quite busy. It just felt like it was as powerful. Like, I don't hate how it went. It just felt like with how much they were hoping Superman came in, it's fucking Diagon and being like, sorry,
it would have been great.
Superman's
if
a little
Superman
busy. Yes, you got an upgrade. Like, love that.
It would have been.
I did love that bit where Hot Girl's like, hey, Metamorphosis should join us. No. Hey, that's a cool name. You're in.
Yeah. Justice Gang. That's a cool name. You're in.
Yeah, I like this one. He was saying. Like, so
Metamorpho has friends, and that's all that matters.
One that nearly pulled me out of the movie. I was going to do a couple of small bits before we wrap things up here, but I love the Peacemaker cameo. Like, I saw him and was
Yes,
like,
me too.
Of course
That
he's
was
fucking
great.
in this, but it makes sense he'll be on there chatting shit about Superman. That's just
I saw
what he
this
would
movie
do.
3 times. Each time John Cena showed up as Peacemaker, every audience member laughed their ass off.
Yeah.
It's just such a funny fucking moment. And it's funny that you don't know what's going to happen. So I hope, viewers, you saw this movie already before you've seen this video. I hope you also laughed at the Peacemaker scene because that was fucking funny. These guys, they respect me because I'm more jacked than they are.
I think apparently, I can't remember off the top of my head, but apparently, according to one review I watched, she said that Superman has a scat fetish, which I'm just like, oh, so it's not monkeys on a keyboard thing. There were definitely some digs at keyboard warriors in this movie with the monkeys, but you know.
I was gonna say maybe that's who Peacemaker believes in season 1 when he's talking about all these like superheroes and their shit fetishes and Aquaman fucks fish. It's all the monkeys that Lex Luthor is.
It's all Lex Luthor's monkeys. But one last thing. Oh, so we get to the end of the movie. We have this nice wholesome moment where he's watching his actual parents, like the parents that raised him, which is again why I feel like I would like to see at least one more scene with them prior to that.
I hope we see more of them.
The revelation, why is Crypto, who we've hardly really spoke about Crypto, we love Crypto, he behaves just like an actual dog. He's not perfect. He is literally...
He behaves like my dog. My dog is Crypto. He exactly bites my feet every time I leave. That's my dog.
But we're like, how is Superman... why is this dog so... And then you find out Amelia Supergirl, Superwoman, comes in, drunk off her ass, and we get more James Gunnisms of... explaining stuff like, oh yeah, she has to go to red sun planets to get drunk, so our metabolism is so we can't get drunk on the yellow planets. It's like, Like, why? It's like, oh,
The robots know that, Superman.
Yeah,
The robots already know that.
Yeah, there's a few times where it's just like spoon feeding us information to the audience. It gets a bit over-explanatory. But apparently, the Supergirl. I will go back through my notes, but I'm terrible at finding my notes today. But apparently, the Supergirl movie they are making is based off a comic series that's good. It's going to be named after, and apparently, in that, like, while Kal-El was just a baby, she remembers Krypton. So I just play this joke that she's just completely wasted. There's a party girl in this one. I can't help but suspect we're going to go into I drink the drown out my trauma from experiencing the fall of Krypton arc. Like, that's where I think it's going to go.
Yeah.
Like, that's what I'm feeling anyway.
I've read the Supergirl story that the next movie is going to be based on, Woman of Tomorrow, written by Tom King.
That's the one, yeah.
It's fucking fantastic. Very heavy, very dark, and so far I think they with that one scene of Supergirl, it's pretty much, if you read the comic book, it's the opening scene of the comic book where like you're in an alien bar and you see someone wearing a jacket, and I guess it's not really a camera if it's a comic, but you turn around and it's Supergirl and she's drunk out of her mind, and yeah, she's using alcohol and other self pleasures as a form of just forgetting about trauma. So I think that movie is going to be very heavy, but also exciting. I really like her as Supergirl so far from what I've seen, even though she's just the drunk one. But I didn't really mind him explaining that she goes to planets to get drunk. But like we did say, I'm sure the robots already know about the yellow sun and their metabolism changes. If he said that to Lois, like if Lois was there and he said that, I would not mind that at all. But I did love seeing Krypto throw Supergirl around like a rag doll. She had a great time doing it.
Yeah,
like, this is why he has behavior issues.
Yeah, that's what she's into. Well, I'm just quickly looking over like what we got coming up on the DC universe. So this is
we got some good stuff coming up, I hope.
Yeah, this is what's according to Wikipedia. That's 100% confirmed. Obviously, Wikipedia, take it with a grain of salt, but Supergirl is slated for release on June 26th, 2026. Directed by Craig Gillespie.
What has he done?
He has done Fright Night, I, Tonya, which is a great movie.
I love I, Tonya. Okay, that's good.
He also did Cruella, which is literally one of the better Disney movies. He did Dumb Money as well. That was his most recent film, Dumb Money, which I quite enjoyed. Like, he's done a few films, but there's decent stuff in there. He's done some television as well. I'm just checking. Nothing that I recognize there.
I, Tanya's great. I, Tanya's fantastic. If anyone hasn't seen it, one of the best Margot Robbie movies outside of Barbie.
Such an underrated Margot Robbie film, I feel. But yeah, so that pretty much wraps up Superman. Are there any other things you want to talk about from that movie before we get to some reviews and then get out of here?
Well, yeah, I would say, generally, like my thoughts with this movie. When I first saw it, I enjoyed it a lot, but I was conflicted because they didn't exactly do what I would say would be my perfect Superman movie, but you know, that doesn't fucking matter. No one's ever going to get the most perfect adaptation of whatever character. Like, there still isn't a perfect adaptation of Batman. Maybe the closest is the Batman, but there still isn't. And when I came here the second and third time, I could confidently say, not only do I love this movie, but I could confidently say I think this is one of the best DC movies that has come out in a very long time. I would say maybe this is the best Superman movie. Maybe number 2 being the first one, Richard Donner 78 with Chris Reeve. I don't know if I would say this is the best James Gunn movie.
Definitely not.
Because for me personally, I would say Guardians 3 is my favorite James Gunn movie of all. I could definitely say this is my second favorite James Gunn movie. So I would say for James Gunn movies, I would say Guardians 3, Superman, Guardians 1, Guardians 2.
I agree.
Oh, so I'm sorry. Suicide Squad number 3. So, oh my God. Holy shit. So.
Yeah, no, I agree. Guardians 3 is phenomenal. Like, that is my favorite James Gunn movie. But I would say this one is probably 3rd or 4th. I feel like Suicide Squad is above it slightly just because of him bringing up. This is the first one where he's brought up. He's been done a big character. Usually he brings up like lesser characters, like Suicide Squad. Like never
this
the rat
is his first
catcher.
big character. Yeah.
Yeah. Apparently he was offered to write and even direct Superman originally from DC before he signed on to Suicide Squad.
A while ago.
But he was like, no, this is too big for me right now. I'm not ready for that. But I'll give this Suicide Squad a crack. So that's what he went for. But I think it's not about its flaws. Like I say, I have issues with the script. Some of the flying effects are a bit off. And there's some scenes I wish I got more of, and the explaining gets a bit weird. But overall, I really enjoy this. I think it's a nice, strong start to DCU. But what other people think? We're just two white dudes on the internet. So here's a couple of reviews I pulled. So obviously, I broke into a couple of things. So here's a couple of the Rotten Tomatoes critic ones. So here's a couple of the good ones, some pull quotes. Kevin Carr from Fat Guys at the Movies. More than just battles, it examines the nature of our own goodness, which comes from how you've raised and not where you're from. It also looks at the purpose of journalism, to ask tough questions and not pander to advertising or powerful figures. Another positive review from Dana Stevens from Slate. In a modest way, this kind-spirited 2-hour-long romp works as a corrective to the increasingly bloated and self-serious comic book movie as we've come to know it. Obviously, there have been some bad reviews as well, and we like to balance things here. So Stephanie Zacharek from Time. Sadly, there's almost zero magic in Guns Superman. Its special effects are more overbearing than special. The plot is all problem-solving and no poetry. And Adam Damon from The Ringer puts basically Gunn is trying to tear something down and build it up at the same time, and all that lavishly subsidized indecision becomes hard to take after a while. That's some of the critics ones I pulled out, but you know how the internet is. Critics don't matter. We don't care, even though we always pull up Rotten Tomatoes scores and compare them. So here's one good and one bad audience review I saw on Rotten Tomatoes. So this is Matt Smith's 4 out of 5 star review. I wanted to hate this movie. I've never been a huge Superman fan, and the recent James Gunn stuff has played hard into stupid, juvenile humor versus anything actually enjoyable. But I can admit I was wrong, and boy was I wrong. This movie is a superhero masterpiece, and I will remind you that why the world loves movies about people with crazy powers fighting in tights. The movie has a perfect combination of humor, love, action, and excitement that every moment keeps your attention. Plus, the art style and action sequences are visually dynamic, which was so needed after DC's recent garbage with its dull palette and the worst CGI fight scenes around. Gunn's world feels bright and engaging, close enough to the real world to feel comfortable, while still adding elements of comic book fantasy to make it interesting. That was from Matt Smith. But a bad one I found, a 2 out of 5 star one.
Good Doctor Who.
A what?
You said Matt Smith, and I said good Doctor Who.
Oh no, well Matt S. But we got 2.5. Well, we got a 2-star review from Robert from Rotten Tomatoes on the audience side of things. Does DC have to be dark and completely serious? No. Was this way too silly for me? Yes. I saw another review equating the dog to Space Ghost in Love and Thunder, and it was spot on. That was a loose plot, and a limp Superman just made me really not like this movie. I'm not a Snyderverse fanboy by any means, but this was just so slapstick, and Man of Steel held up so much better, focusing on making a good story instead of making me laugh. I really enjoy Ainsman's movies, but I felt like this one took the L. And
well, Robert, besides the fact that I am ashamed that you share the same name as me, we are totally okay to have opinions of our own, even if they are wrong. Did you just fucking say, though, that Crypto is the same as the screaming goats from Love and Thunder? Are you out of your fucking mind? Did you even see the same movie, my guy? That's all I'm going to say.
Again,
it's not all I'm going to say. Are you out of your fucking mind?
I put these together just to give a nice spread. So people that dislike a movie, some people that love it. Like, films are subjective, guys. That's the end of the day's story. But obviously, Rotten Tomatoes and everything. So I thought I'd pull one good review, one bad review, and one mixed review from Letterboxd, because everyone logs film on Letterboxd these days. I tried to find ones that weren't just witty ones, because a lot of witty reviews on Letterboxd, but there are some that are trying to be analytical about it. So in terms of we have a good one here. There is so much movie here, and my mind is racing with thoughts, but holy lord, he did it. It's a little rough around the edges, but the heart, oh man, a movie with so much to say, and I see it's already got Fox News shaking its virtual shorts. I'm so impressed with Gunn, genuinely. I didn't really have any doubts, but I also didn't think he was like that. I think the way they tackle the world building in this is just great too. Sets up the DCU very nicely without it ever feeling like too much. That brings me to the Justice Gang, whose inclusion I was most worried about, but I was very wrong because they are actually one of my favourite aspects of the movie, especially Mr. Terrific. Awesome guy. These go on longer, but I've only taken the first part of their reviews. This is from Brian on Letterboxd, 4.5 stars. A 2.5 star one, so I tend to think of the mid reviews as like the 2.5 to your 3.5s, sort of your mids. I take no pleasure in this, even though it is a very neutral rating. I did have some fun with this, and this might be the size I've ever walked out of a film in quite some time, given the enormity of my excitement and anticipation, and a trailer that literally made me cry tears of joy. But it's a Sunday morning cartoon meant to loosely introduce kindergartners to world politics and teach them about the importance of being kind. It's Superman at its core, but the aesthetic and narrative arrangement, along with some questionable plot points and general corniness, just didn't work for me. It works at times and can be fun here and there, but it's mostly lazy and undefined and somehow looks uglier than anticipated. It's admirable and an easy film to praise in moments, given Gunn's attempt at saying something meaningful about morality and the immigrant experience, plus his political rhetoric, but those deeper themes are a bit shallow in execution and very much a hand-holding experience. So that's from George Carney, 2.5 stars. I feel like he's like me, where he doesn't like some of the hand-holdy explaining aspects of the script, but it's still pretty good. But finally, Robert Daniels, 2-star. James Gunn is such an emotionally cheap director. Nothing feels earned in the latest Superman. Gunn once again uses animals to add low-hanging, quirky beats. Lois and Clark have very little scenes together to kindle a romance in what's a surprisingly ugly-looking film. Also, why are the Kents rendered as bumpkins, and why do we get so little of Wendell Pierce? A movie can't be everything, but it feels like Gunn is so intent on the Superman being representative of everything: immigration, journalism, the forced displacement of brown people, and more, that he loses focus. To make up for his slippage, he takes shortcuts, but it all bundles together, reaching for a heartwarming ending that feels like it's supposed to complete an arc that was barely started. So, again, you get the spectrum on thoughts on people there. Me, I do have my thoughts on the movie, but overall, I really like Superman, and I feel like I can't. Yeah. It's a good standard for where the series is going to go, where the universe is going to go. I'm looking forward to what's coming next. I feel like it's in good hands, personally. What about yourself?
Yep, I do too. I think James Gunn definitely has set aside every fear or concern I had. Like I said, definitely this movie probably won't be for everybody. I obviously love it more because it has that comic book feel. So I watch the movie, it feels like a comic book. If you've never read a comic book, if you've only seen maybe the movies, this will be jarring. But I think if you just turn off your brain for a little bit and not view it as such don't view it in such a cynical way, it really is just a heartwarming film about being kind. People are trying to make this more political than it has to be, even though the political messages is very obvious. I still think the main message of this movie is just be kind, and I think having Superman be the guy to give that message, saying punk rock is being kind is punk rock, I think that's a great message for not just everyone, but for kids too. I think this movie works really well for kids, and that's really all who this matters for. So for me, I'm gonna give this movie an 8.5 out of 10. I definitely love this movie.
Fantastic. Well, in regards to what people are being negative at the movie for, saying it's all political and whatnot, I'm just gonna say it right now, guys. Films have always been woke in some way, shape, or form. They always have been. Jesus Christ, Star Wars is literally an allegory for fascism. So, and that came out in the 70s.
Yes, yes, literally.
This
Superman's always been political. Since the day one, he was always quote unquote woke. It just wasn't called that back then, but he was made by two Jewish kids, during the World War II. So And he fought against Nazis. He was fighting against that oppression. He became the champion of the oppressed. So he was always like that. So I hate when people say that shit because all they cared about is just seeing him fly and do cool shit.
Yeah. Well, that's it. That's how films always have been. I'm getting tired of seeing that argument. But thankfully, I've not seen review bombing for this. And I've seen more people complaining about people making political complaints versus actually seeing these complaints. So I feel like my algorithm's just being nice to me. Or maybe it's just like, this is a less vocal minority than it used to be. So that's good to see. But Rob, we've got a D&D session to get to. So where can everyone find you?
do.
And
Everybody can find me on youtube.com/RCKfilms. Like you mentioned earlier, I am currently editing part 2 as we speak, doing a motion comic 3-part series of Superman Birthright. I did a Batman one early this year. I also have a TikTok, same name, RCKfilms. If you want to check that out, feel free. Would love to have you. And thank you again, Josh, for having me in your channel talking about the best movie ever made. I don't care what anyone else says.
well, like I say, I do want to get into this long form content more often, maybe once a month. So if a film pops up, I'll have you back on board. So yeah, guys.
Hell yeah.
Until next time, make sure you click the like and follow button and whatnot. I do insert reviews on TikTok these days, but I do my main reviews. My main review of this film is on my channel right now. But until next time, everybody, go out, look up, have fun, remember to pet your dogs. And until next time, I am Josh, that has been Rob, and we'll see you all next time.